What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so, and we're going to jump right into it. The prisons in Georgia State prisons, are supposedly some of the worst in the United States of America, and judging by this video, they are indeed correct. These prisons are steep with violence. There have been untold unalivings. Some of these dudes you will see right here in the video are walking around with what is tantamount to machetes that they use on one another right there in prison. Some of these prisons here in Georgia have even been known to carry guns. They have guns, handguns. The inmates, the incarcerated people there have unalived people in prison with these guns. Now, I heard back in the days with my comrade George Jackson's book, Soledad Brother, where he mentioned there were a couple dudes in there that had guns back in San Quentin and Soledad back in the 1960s. But it was uncommon, and it doesn't happen now. It's just impossible. I've never seen it, never heard of it. But apparently it is prevalent here in this prison. Even COs, a black lady CO, was paid to unalive another CO, her co-worker, her cohort, her counterpart, her comrade, in the name of an incarcerated person for not bringing in illicit stuff. Now, I mean, we'll get into it. I'll let them speak for themselves, but it was crazy what I just saw. As we join the first video, as we get started with the video, you'll see that dude, as you can see right here, has a damn machete. Let's get into it.
Hey, this is not a joke. You understand what I'm saying? At any given time, it'll get real back here.
This is what happened when you fuck a nigga tattoo up, especially one of my brother, man. Dig what I'm saying? Dig what I'm saying?
Look at this shit. Look closely. Look at the weapons that they have. We don't have knives like this in California prisons, man. You can't hide them. They're too big. People stick knives inside of them to get them to the yard and then go to a secluded area, if there is such a thing in prison, with some cover and get it out of them. Push it, squat down and push it out of them, and then take care of business with the knife. There's no way you're sticking something like this inside of you.
I run on BLOOD. I'll keep shit in going and it's bad game. You Pyru.
Hold up, man. What we got going on in the back, man? You gotta sit that shit in my mouth.
Damn. Whoa. Look at that. This dude got a big ass knife in his hand. He got a big ass machete swinging at the dude. Look at this shit. Golly. Whoa.
That's hell, man. Where eat the guy? Where?
Look at these knives.
Georgia is the 8th most populous state in the United States and has the 4th highest prison population. The state of Georgia houses over 50,000 inmates in 34 facilities across the state, with 25,000 of those prisoners being labeled violent offenders. There are also 9,600 inmates currently serving life in prison and over 40 inmates currently on death row awaiting to be executed. Since the year 2022, there has been a total of 113 murders inside Georgia prisons.
113 murders. What do you say, since 2022? Couple years. It is 2025 now. Happy New Year, everybody, and be safe. And accomplish your goals this year. Stay strong, dedicated, and committed, and you can achieve anything. But now, getting back to the video, Look at the weaponry that these dudes are openly carrying around. Sometimes these dudes have masks on their face when you see them, you know, making videos on Facebook and Instagram inside of prison with their cellular phones. These dudes are open with it. This is crazy.
With 44 already this year, this includes one of the deaths.
44 murders already at whatever time this video was done. During that year, it had already been 44, I'm sure, very vicious and brutal unalivings.
Deaths involving an inmate in June of this year who got his hands on a gun and killed a civilian food service worker with whom he was having a relationship with. After he shot and killed her, he turned the gun on himself and committed suicide. The shooter was able to get the gun by having a civilian on the outside fly a drone over the prison with the gun attached to it and drop it in the prison yard where he would collect it. He had been in prison for 9 years on a manslaughter charge, with his earliest release date being 2043. This murder would be the second death of a prison staff member in Georgia in less than a year, with the last death involving a prison guard being stabbed to death from behind with a homemade knife. The Georgia prison guard job has a high number of job vacancies due to its low pay, with it.
So the dude got a gun in there via a drone, was having a relationship with a kitchen worker, a female kitchen worker, female kitchen staff. This happens in prison. And whatever, couldn't take the relationship, the breakup, and unalived her, and then turned a gun on himself and unalived himself. With a gun, though, in prison. Domestic situations carried out in prison. Imagine.
Its starting salary at $40,000, which is the equivalent of making $19 an hour. In 2012, there were 6,500 prison staff employees, but in 10 years that number dropped 60%, well below to 2,500 guards in 2022. Due to the low pay and not having enough manpower to handle the large number of inmates, prisoners will bribe guards to smuggle in drugs, phones, food, and designer clothing. Inmates would pay guards amounts from $1,500 and more for every delivery they made to them. Since 2018, there has been a total of 360 prison staff members fired for being involved in smuggling contraband, sexual assault, and extortion. In 2019, a correctional officer was caught trying to smuggle in 8 cell phones and 2.6 pounds of meth to an inmate, for which she was going to receive $10,000, but she was caught and would eventually be sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. Prison guards would even go above and beyond when an officer was on an inmate's payroll. The inmate paid the officer to kill another female officer who decided to stop moving drugs for him. The inmate would later attempt to send another hit on another officer, but the hitman ended up killing the wrong person. Now the inmate is currently on trial awaiting the death penalty. Even a prison warden was caught drug smuggling, and it was found that the warden was getting paid well above $44,000 from various inmates to help smuggle in drugs and other illegal items. In 2023, prison officials would shake down and search inmate cells, and that year they would find a total of 6,300 cell phones, 1,432 pills, 242 pounds of cocaine, 300 pounds of marijuana, 769 pounds of meth, fentanyl, and heroin, which investigators would calculate the street value to be a total of $4,320,000 worth of contraband.
My goodness. So that's like El Chapo up in there. Did you hear all of that stuff they seized in prison? And that's prison. 300 pounds of the Snoop Doggy Dogg. 300 pounds? Jeez.
It's the holiday season, and there's a lot of gifts to give, and there's a
These
lot of
dudes
gifts
up
to
in here.
get. I've been saving money with Mint Mobile. It's been a
And seized. The year before, an inmate with access to a cell phone scammed the Charles Schwab Bank out of $11 million, and he would eventually be caught. After he was released from prison, he was arrested by federal authorities and would eventually be sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The Georgia Department of Corrections would document a total of 15,000 gang members, with the most well-known gangs being 4,700 Bloods, 3,900 Gangster Disciples, and 1,400 Crips. In October of 2024, the federal government Department of Justice would launch a full investigation into the horrific conditions and corruption in the Georgia prison system. Due to the lack of prison staff in 2021, There were a total of 702 sexual abuse acts against inmates in Georgia, with most of these victims being a part of the LGBT community. Gangs that run housing units often target LGBT inmates with physical violence to force them out of the gang's housing unit. For example, in 2022, 24-year-old openly gay and transgender inmate Tristan McKee, who had a history of mental illness and suicidal ideations, was placed in a gang housing unit that was very hostile against LGBT inmates. He was attacked and beaten by Bloods and gangster disciples, and while he tried to run and escape, he was stabbed 12 times, including being stabbed in his eye, and prison guards would respond 45 minutes later. Hours later, he was pronounced dead. The day before his death,
45 minutes later, they responded. 45 minutes later, yeah. He was stabbed 12 times, including in the eye. Yeah, he passed. It was over. 45 minutes later, he bled out. It was a wrap. They in there unaliving brutally shit up in there with these damn machetes that they got and actual 9mm. Jeez.
death, he told prison
And the gangster disciples, they're at it once again.
guards that he needed help leaving his housing unit because he felt that his life was in danger, but the guards ignored him. At the time of his death, Tristan only had 1 more year in prison left until he was eligible to come home. Crips and tortures are very frequent in Georgia prisons. For example, in August of 2020, an inmate passed a note to an officer stating that the inmate in the cell next to him kept screaming for help. So when the officer opened the cell next door, the officer found an inmate who had been held and tortured for almost 4 days. He had been injured in his eye and he suffered a traumatic brain injury. He was airlifted to an outside hospital where he would later survive. Another incident in that same month involved an inmate who dug a hole in the wall into another man's cell, where the inmate would slide his way into the other man's cell, beat him, and rape him. A female officer would find the victim hidden under his bed with his head bleeding. He was hospitalized for head trauma requiring 26 staples and was treated for rib fractures and fractures to his fingers. An even worse story is when in 2022, 18-year-old inmate Jacob Daniels was attacked by 3 individuals who broke his wrist and his feet and stuffed fillings from inside a cut-up mattress in his mouth, stabbed him in the throat with an ink pen, and cut his wrists with glass from a broken light bulb.
Jeez.
The attackers, Cody Brock and James Collins, were charged with malice murder, aggravated assault, and false imprisonment. But also prison guards have been known to secretly work with gangs in prison and being on their payroll and sometimes play a part in the role of an inmate's death. For example, in September of 2022 at Phillips State Prison, 3 Blood gang members, including one of them, 19-year-old Malik McBride, planned to run into a rival Crip member's cell to kill him. The Bloods told the prison guard that was on duty at the time their
Man, look at these damn knives. That's not a knife. It's so much. Look at this shit. Look at this shit, man. In prison, ain't it? Where they hiding this shit at? Obviously, the police not in there searching. Not often. They not searching and going in the hole for being found with these knives like you would in California. California, you can't have these kind of knives. These are machetes. No wonder so many people are in there dying.
plans, and the guard agreed, so the prison guard unlocked the Crip gang member's prison cell and walked away. Shortly after, the 3 Bloods ran into the Crips cell, but with the Crip gang member being smart and already on point, he was prepared for an attack. The first Blood to enter the cell was Malik McBride, and the attack didn't last long because as soon as they went in, the Crips stabbed Malik in the head and with a fatal stab wound to the heart. The other 2 Bloods ran back to their cells and locked their doors, and Malik attempted to run back to his, but he collapsed before he could make it. After this incident, the Crip was not charged with Malik's death because he admitted it was self-defense, but one of the Blood members was charged with felony murder for his involvement in initiating the attack. When word was spread throughout the Georgia prisons of Malik's death from a rival Crip member, it started a gang war in 3 separate prisons in the state of Georgia. On October 1st, 2022 at Coffee State Prison, a war broke out between Bloods and Crips and 2 inmates were taken to the hospital. On October the 2nd at Maycomb State Prison, a war caused 13 inmates to be taken to the hospital. And on October 3rd at Ware State Prison, 5 inmates were sent to the hospital. In the end, a total of 2 gang members were killed and 20 gang members were hospitalized. The prison guard that opened the original Crips cell door was placed under investigation for the incident because he failed to cooperate. He was eventually fired. In the end, a prison facility is no place for any man, and it is a blessing to come home from it. It is crucial to never take your freedom for granted because not everyone sentenced to prison makes it home.
No late night vibe, you know. Late night vibe, we playing PS5. Yeah, man. You know what's going? It was going on.
Damn. That is crazy. Look at all that shit up in there, man. Wow. So they up in there. Look at the weapons that they had. Look at those damn machetes. They had a big flat screen in there right there towards the end. Playing the PS5. They all got cellular phones with the Apple headphones. What the hell? They're in there having COs unalived by other COs. Never happened in California prison. I can't pay another CO to unalive another CO. I mean, so that prison is very loose. And clearly, because the security is extremely lax for anyone to carry those sort of weapons, to possess those sort of weapons without worrying about how they're going to hide them and disguise them. Apparently, they're not worried about that because they're not doing a lot of searches. And as we can see, they're using these weapons. They are brutalizing people. Dude dug a hole in his cell to go inside of somebody else's cell and bust his head open. What the hell? This is crazy. Drones dropping guns that these dudes are using to unalive kitchen workers that they in love with and then unalive themselves. I mean, man, I don't know how the hell they've been getting away with all of this stuff for so long, but they have. I mean, whoa. So I'm gonna have to go back into these prisons, man, and see and do some more digging in and see what the hell's going on and how they're getting away with all of this. But hey, they are. And then the COs are involved as well. I told you that they all are venal and corrupt. The system is rotten. Here it is. The CO sets the Crip up, opens his door so that 3 Bloods can rush in there with plans on unaliving him. I'm sure they're going in there with some of this weaponry. Some of these damn machetes, they're not going in there to play. The plan was to unalive him. They put 3 of them on him. But as he just said, the Crip was anticipating such an attack, was prepared, I'm sure, with a machete or such of his own. And as you saw, the first Blood that rushed in there, 19-year-old Malik, young brother, rest in peace, was hit in the heart or so and stabbed in the head and didn't make it out, or made it out of the cell, tried to run back to his cell, but collapsed. And this started a war in 3 different prisons in which the Crips and Bloods went at it there in Georgia. Crips and Bloods everywhere, not just in Los Angeles. Wars going on, raging everywhere. Brother against brother. All really for nothing when we have bigger enemies and bigger fish to fry. Stay focused, people. Now that was deep, and I'll be back. I'm gonna find some more content with this shit right here because that was just amazing. Those damn weapons and cellular phones, you know, the pills and everything else that they're finding up in there. I mean, damn, like El Chapo. Whoa. Happy New Year and stay free, people. I'll be back. And in the meantime, stay free, people.